All right, Mal, let's travel back in time, go back to our Wayback Machine, and let's talk about what we were doing at this point in time last week. The reason we didn't have a show, we got in a large 15-passenger van. We called it the party van. We filled her up with gas. We got some snacks, and we headed down to College Station for the 2023 Texas 7-on-7 State Championship tournament. It's always a really good time down there. We want to preface everything with, if you were trying to watch any of the games on Texan Live and they did not pop up, thank you so much for hanging with us. Mallory and I both, we might as well just get this tattooed across our forehead at this point. There's a lot of things we can fix from a technology standpoint, but the one singular thing that none of us can control to a certain extent is the internet.
The internet.
Is if it's out, it's out. We have addressed what the issue is. We know now what the issue is. There were some updates made to the Veterans Memorial Park down in College Station. That is great for fans. Anybody that's attending in person, they changed quite a few things with the Wi-Fi situation, so that way everyone could get cell phone service. You could FaceTime Grandma and Grandpa, show them the game, that kind of stuff. Worked out great for everybody else. Doesn't work out ideally for broadcasting. So nothing wrong down there with our friends down in College Station. We appreciate them making it better for the fan. We tried to broadcast it, just didn't work all the time. We were able to get streams up throughout the rest of the days on Friday and Saturday, though. So a big shout out to the Texan Live team for sticking with it and never giving up. But other than that, once we got that figured out, the rest of it went as smoothly as possible. So in Division 1, we had Round Rock as our champions. In Division 2, back-to-back, go my beloved Hitchcock Bulldogs. And then in Division 3, it was back-to-back the Miles Bulldogs. This is the first time in the history of the state 7-on-7 tournament. So 26 years now. 26, technically 25 times the state championships actually been played, with a giant asterisk next to the 2020 season, which we don't have to explain to any of y'all why there wasn't one in 2020. But in the 25 years that it has actually been played, this was the first time we had ever had two champions go back to back. Isn't that cool?
That is really cool. And man, we were kind of close to all three divisions because DeSoto made it until
the state semis.
It was the round before that.
Yeah, because they got
were knocked out
by Coppell.
Yeah, of course.
that eye roll has nothing to do with Coppell.
No,
it has everything to do with Greg Tepper.
Greg Tepper, yes. No, that is exactly why that has it. Coppell played a fantastic.
They got dudes.
Coppell got dude. They're big.
Yeah.
They knocked out my Arlington Colts.
Now, if anyone ever says any of this to Greg Tepper, because we know he's not listening to this podcast, if you ever say anything to him,
please don't.
Cut off.
Yeah.
No more viewership.
Yeah, no more viewership.
For you. We'll block you. We'll find you.
Yeah. But, Coppell hindered DeSoto from making it literally all three divisions repeating because DeSoto won last year, which would have been actually kind of cool. But
that would have been insane.
Yeah. Round Rock got their chance to shine this year. So
yeah, and we didn't have Round Rock anywhere even close to that. So they made sure to call us out on Twitter, which I respect like no other. That's great. I guess before we get into like the real depths of this, I do want to talk about the matchup of the century that was had, the matchup that everyone had been waiting for literally, since 7-on-7 started in like 1997 or whatever it was. The Coppell Cowboys taking on the Arlington Colts.
Did not think you were gonna say that. Correct. That was my favorite game of the whole weekend.
So
after
day one of Division 1, which would have been Friday, the long day, where Mallory's looking at the bracket that night, and she goes, "Wait a minute!" And we were like,
we were at the coffee shop.
Yeah, we had to go to a coffee shop to edit because internet.
Shocking.
Tale as old as time. But we're sitting there, and then she was like, "Oh, wait, no. Arlington has to beat Barbers Hill, and Coppell has to beat
the Woodlands.
The Woodlands, which."
Two fantastic teams. Like
the Woodlands has the guy.
Marbury Maytower. And I looked at that and I was like, I don't really know much about Barbers Hill. I know that they're typically they're a pretty good team much year in and year out. So I was a little hesitant on thinking that Arlington could make it past the first round. Arlington's good. I think they looked very good. But I knew it was going to be a close game either way. I don't think we were very optimistic about Coppell beating the Woodlands because, like you said, the Woodlands has that guy in Marbury Maytower.
Yes.
And I was really excited at first because, I looked at the bracket wrong, and they had Coppell and Arlington right next to each other, and I was like, man, first round on Friday or Saturday morning at 8:45, it's going to be fantastic. And then I was like, oh man, no, it's got to be a win-win type of situation.
Right.
And I don't remember which game we were watching. It was the first round.
We were watching
Saturday
a San Antonio
morning.
Johnson game.
San Antonio Johnson, and
all the way over on field 3.
Yes.
Everybody, that bracket, like pool that Arlington and Coppell were all the way over at field like 12, 11, 13 area. So if you're not familiar with the or the 7-on-7 set, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are all like way over here. Then you have to go over bridges and through the woods and over to Grandma's house you go, and you finally get to 7 through 10. Then you have to go past Grandma's house, down I-35, over to 45, through West Texas. You end up in El Paso. And then you get to fields 13 or 11 through whatever else, 15 I think it is.
Yeah. So we were not even close to watching these first round games. And so I'm sitting there, and Tepper's, of course, watching the Coppell game. I think Arlington and Barbers Hill were playing on the field directly across from them, but he couldn't see the score. He was just watching the Coppell game. And so he's like, man, I don't know, it's close. Like
Coppell went up 20.
Coppell was up 20-0.
And then they completely blew it.
Yeah, they completely blew that. I think the second half. So it was like a 1-score game in the second half. So Coppell, so he's texting me and he's like, man, Coppell has like a couple more seconds. I think the Woodlands is up by 6. They got one last shot. Coppell throws a Hail Mary into the end zone, and
literally as clock expires.
Literally as time expires to beat the Woodlands to move on to round 2. So I was like, wow, that's a miracle right there. Like that's fantastic, right? So I'm like, okay, how's Arlington doing? And he was like, okay, let me go check. Didn't hear anything for a good 5 minutes. And I was like, well, that's not good.
Mallory looked at me and she goes, I haven't heard anything. That means they didn't do it.
That means they didn't do it. And I was a little sad. And I was like, oh, that's okay. You know, at least they made it to Saturday. That's still a really, really great accomplishment at 7-on-7.
In the champions bracket.
Yes. No, this was the champions bracket. This was not the consolation bracket.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden I get a phone call from Tepper, and I'm like,
wait a minute.
Is this good? Is this bad?
And I'm refreshing hell out of the Excel. They have an Excel document that all the actual 7-on-7 staff put together. They're kind enough to share it with us so that way we know. I am refreshing like no other.
And so I pick up the phone and I'm like, what's going on, Tepper? Like, give me something. He goes, okay, there is like a minute. There's like 40 seconds left in this game. Arlington has the ball. Barbers Hill's up by 6. They've got like a couple more drives left. And I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden I hear, oh my God. And Arlington somehow makes it down the field. It was not a Hail Mary, but they somehow make it down the field.
Yeah, make it like, I think there's like 20 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah. Barbers Hill gets one more shot. They take a Hail Mary. It's no good. And so at that moment I was like, let's go. And I probably said it way too loud.
Oh, you did.
But I was over the moon excited for this because this was completely not expected on either end.
It's been a while since I've seen cheerleader Mallory come out, because here's exactly how it happened. She is standing up, like pacing back and forth in the golf cart. I'm sitting there just watching. I'm in the golf cart and I'm like, I'm either going to see this woman heartbroken or I'm going to see her like sprint down the field. And she goes, let's go! And then runs up and down and is jumping. And Ish is like, oh my God, who is this crazy woman? And
you both were so embarrassed
because the coaches are turning and looking and everyone, and she's like, we gotta go. And then she gets in the golf cart and I was holding on for dear life, and we make it over there in time. But it was the whole time she would
I was so excited because there's not much time in between these games. So I was like, we gotta make it all the way to El Paso and back, like to make it to the fields in time. And there's not enough time really in between games to fiddle around. Like, you got to get there if you want to make it on time. So we did make it on time.
How we didn't send someone to the hospital, me or a pedestrian,
correct.
I don't know.
Or myself, at that point, by having a heart attack. No, obviously Coppell ended up winning. It was a pretty good game. I think the final score was like 27-20 20 or something. It was very close. But
there was a little window dressing at the very end there by the Colts.
Little window dressing, but man, I couldn't have asked for a better game.
It was fun.
That was awesome.
And then all of us were crowded around watching that game, and we all got to laughing. It was like, this was not the game we all expected to be at right now, but okay, let's go. So congratulations, to the Battle of the Century. Tepper takes the dub, which just I need to wash my mouth out with soap at this point.
I know, seriously.
Yeah, way to go, Mal.
Yeah.
All right, so there was that fun story of all of that. A couple of things that I wanted to bring up, though. A team, and you might have a different answer, but a team that absolutely impressed me. The team that I think that I was the most like, oh wow, there's something here, was Ponder.
I was just about to say that because we watched that game together.
Yeah, we watched the Ponder China Spring game because we were very just interested. Market Schultz now is there at Ponder. He left Humble High School. He had the super good stint at Splendora, moved down to take over the 6A program of Humble, the actual Humble High School, and is now up by Ponder. And a lot of people looked at that and went, why is he leaving a 6A job in Houston to go to a smaller 4A job that's not really in the DFW? It's DFW extended a little bit. Ton of his family's from there, and I think that he saw it as another really good fit for him. And I think a lot of people know the name Case Peacock, the senior wide receiver who, I mean, he showed out at 7-on-7. That was cool. But the thing that got me, and we kept checking the roster and going, is this correct? So Gage Ersch, or Esch, I think it's Ersch, is the sophomore quarterback. Yeah. His connection with their also a sophomore receiver, Noah Long.
They're so young and they're so good.
They're
spot on.
They're really good.
They've got chemistry. You can tell, like that.
They've grown up
duo
playing
right
together.
There,
There's
you
no
knew
way.
they grew up playing together. They've got that instant chemistry. I mean, man, they're gonna be lethal. They're gonna be lethal growing up.
Yeah, getting Gage the experience of throwing to a receiver like Case Peacock is going to be crucial because he's going to know, like, he's going to have a lot of time to develop because Case Peacock has sticky hands for
hands. He's a senior too, yeah.
But I'm telling you, there was, and it might have just been 7-on-7, but I think that there is something special going on there between Gage Ersch and Noah Long. That was a little firecracker of a duo, and they haven't even fully grown into size yet. I mean, they might be 15 years old.
Well, that defense is good, too, because the game that we watched, they beat China Spring. Cash McCollum and China Spring, which China Spring looked really good, too. But, I mean, like, we were just shocked by how young this team was from top to bottom. And they come up and they pull out a victory over a veteran China Spring team.
Yeah, and it wasn't really close either. Like, even if score-wise looked close, there was, from my eyes at least, there was a big difference in that. I know we watched China Spring play a couple of different times, or like would drive by and be like, okay, they're doing those China Spring things. I don't know if it just kind of fell apart a little bit for that day. It was really late, quite a few games in, like heat, but Ponder just took it to them.
Yeah, they look really stinking good.
They really did. I also highly enjoyed watching Holly, Deontay Ramon, and Chandler Myers look like.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw them all last year. There's no doubt how good those two athletes were, but to see even the chemistry that they have developed of both, it's two dynamic weapons on the outside. You looked at them playing any other team in Division III. I don't think that there's anyone even in two-way that can stop the two of them. You can stop one player like that.
Yeah.
You can't stop two players like that. And we wondered, now that Austin Compton is gone, it's like, okay, their run game is going to falter a little bit. But I think if that little quarterback can get it over to those two guys, they're going to be golden.
I think so, too. I got to see Albany and Harmony play each other. I think that's correct.
Yeah. Because I asked I didn't get to see Harmony.
Yes.
And I was like, what did you think of Harmony?
Yeah, Harmony looked really solid. Now,
they made it to the semi-final, I think.
I can't.
Or they did last year. I don't know if they made it this time.
Yeah, but they looked really solid. And not even like on both sides of the ball. Like I think they had 2 picks in total in that game. So both sides of the ball, they look dang solid. And that Harmony quarterback, he can sling it. He is really stinking
good. They were
good.
not a fluke last year.
No,
they were definitely a year early, but
I was
they're
gonna say
not
they
a
were
fluke.
young, but they're back this year, and they're going to be a contender into it. Like they are very, very good.
Yeah, they're one of them that I'll be interested to see what they do with a target on their back, because last year you sneak up on people and it's like,
it's easy to sneak
great.
up, right? Exactly.
It's more difficult, but I don't think that they'll struggle with it that much.
No.
2 quarterbacks that I really got enjoyment out of watching was Sunrays quarterback Armando Luan. Tepper has the biggest, like, that's his man crush this year, and I understand why now after watching him. I watched him play against Holly, so it wasn't the closest game for them, but that kid is nails on the pass. The other one is another one of my my mini
Hitchcock.
darling. Well, yes, one. Oh my God, Lloyd Jones.
Yeah,
was
he's so good.
unbelievable. Holy crap, that kid
team is
good.
so good.
I actually meant. It's funny that you brought that up. I actually meant San Antonio Johnson quarterback Ty Hawkins.
Ty Hawkins, yeah.
So that's the winner of Steps inaugural. He got that Dog in Him award, but
he just committed to TCU too. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, so that rocks.
I was there the first game of the KSAT Alamo Classic thing at the Alamo Dome last year.
Oh, that's right.
And that's when we like flooded the zone with Ty Hawkins tweets because there were so many of us there, and it was like, who is this sophomore that's just ripping people to shreds in San Antonio right now? Anyway, Ty Hawkins looked just as good, and now people know about him. But yeah, a recent TCU commit. So a big get there for the Horned Frogs because he just now is entering his junior year.
Yeah, right. Now, I'll tell you this. I didn't watch them at all, but I just heard, obviously, through the grapevine. But Poth, they went 0-3, is that, I believe, on Thursday.
No, they couldn't have because they were in the championship
Well,
bracket.
maybe it was 0 they had not won a game, or it was something like that. They hadn't won. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of someone else. They played in the championship. They
Maybe
played
so.
Miles in the championship.
Maybe, yeah, it was Miles. They had some kind of like a really bad start. Maybe they were down or something. It like had some really good
and
comebacks.
Came back all 3
yeah,
games.
but they looked really good
that
too.
sounds familiar. I would need to go back and look at the scores, but that sounds more
There was a
familiar
team
that they came
went,
back.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. But they did make some kind of a comeback on that Thursday.
On a couple of games.
Yeah, on a couple of games that they were down pretty bad, I think.
Yeah, I'll have to look back into that. I can't remember. I didn't see too much of Poth. Two others that I want to point out real fast. This class of 2025 is loaded with tight ends, and there were 2 of them that we got to see. One of which, this name should sound familiar if you've been around Texas high school football for the past couple years now, but Lance Jackson out of Pleasant Grove. If you remember, his older brother, Landon Jackson, was the absolute unit of a tight end that played for Pleasant Grove back in like the 2019, 2020 type seasons. His younger brother is now a junior and is a stinking unit. As going into his junior year, he might honestly end up bigger than Landon when push comes to shove. But I remembered that because Mallory and I are driving around, and all of a sudden she was like, who in the world is that kid?
Yeah.
And I like looked over, I was like, Pleasant Grove, and I was like, that has got to be the younger Jackson because I'm having major flashbacks to 2019.
Yeah, that dude was big.
He was huge. And then the other tight end was Kiadi Armstrong out of Jasper. That guy is a legitimate prospect to keep your eye on. I know a lot of recruiters are really starting to pick up on him, but Jasper as a whole looked really good. That secondary that they have at Jasper is going to be lethal. They're really, really fast. They always are. But Jasper is playing a different type of ball in that defense right now, and they look darn good. But from the offensive side, Kiadi Armstrong looked really, really good.
Yeah, I got to see West Orange Stark play too a little bit. I don't remember exactly who they played, but that secondary looked really, really good.
That's good.
They were on point. Like, they were on lockdown mode the entire time. They had a couple picks in the game that I saw against whoever it was. I don't remember.
The West Orange Sharks got to get their offense going because Hiawatha Hickman, who is now the head coach over there after taking over for longtime coach.
I know. I can't remember his name either. I was
Cornell.
Cornell Thompson.
There it is. I was like, what is the last name? I'm so sorry, Coach. That's completely embarrassing. We've talked about a lot of names today. But taking over for that, Hiawatha Hickman was the defensive coordinator beforehand, and he was there during all the unbelievable year. I think he was there for like 10 or 13 years under Coach Cornell Thompson.
Yeah. They looked really good. So.
Yeah. So anyway, State 7-on-7. It was great, as it always is, to be able to go out there and start to, feel our football juices get to be flowing a little bit again and to see all of these athletes. It was just loaded with prospects this year. We've seen a lot of really good years of 7-on-7 from a team perspective. But this since I've been here covering 7-on-7, it was the highest prospect rated 7-on-7 that we've had. So
and not just in Division 1 too. I mean, there were
Division 2 was stacked.
Right. Division 2 and Division 3 there were a couple of prospects that Powers had his eye on too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many of them.
Yeah, Division 2 was impressive how many there's always a ton of prospects in Division 1.
Right.
So that's just a given. But this year in Division 2 and 3 in particular, there was more than there usually are.
Yeah,
so
definitely.